Hello, so a quick question for you all. Have you heard of a company called Uusi? If you have, you'll know that they are a collection of designers and artists who have a love of traditional craftsmanship and material exploration. Their mission is to search for the beauty in everyday objects, and the best thing is they make tarot cards. So, if you haven't heard of them, don't worry, I'm going to introduce you to them as we unbox their Eros, the Garden of Love Tarot. Welcome back, guys. So we are going to be unboxing the Eros, the Tarot of Love deck. So before we get into it, if you are an underage viewer or you are not comfortable with nudity, please do not continue to watch this episode. The nudity in this is kind of cartoony and it's based on kind of burlesque principles. So it's not as if I'm showing a nudie magazine, but at the same time, if you are sensitive to not wanting to see naked images, even if they are stylized and cartooned, then please do not watch this episode. You have been warned. So before we get on to more about the deck, especially after that little bit of a teaser, let me show you who Uusi are. So Uusi was founded in about 2010, I think they say the autumn of, and basically it was a band of designers and artists that kind of came together and just, it almost, their about page makes it seem almost like a why not kind of collaboration, which is the best kind of collaborations. So let me show you their website. This is their website. Uusi. Uusi, from what I can kind of gather, I did a bit of search before I started filming, and it looks like it's a Finnish word meaning new or fresh. So take that as it is. But here's their website. This is their shop page. They've got a fantastic collection of just normal playing cards. This is their pagan playing cards. It's the deck that I would love to play cribbage to. You can see the kind of the pagan themes and is inspired. The backs are beautiful. They are more on the end of luxury card designers than they are on the spectrum of kind of cheap and accessible tarot decks. They're kind of range between around about $60 for a tarot deck and $30 for a playing card deck, and this oracle deck is about $46. The reason why I'm quite excited about it is that you don't tend to find an awful lot of tarot producers that were chosen to be part of MIT's libraries of distinctive collections. So this is a kind of a program set up by MIT to basically collect the best or cutting edge or modern focused kind of design work and artwork and books as part of their distinctive collections library. So Uusi's tarot decks are all in that, which is quite remarkable when you think of just a tarot designers. But it's quite cool. So they have other decks, of which I would love to get them. The Pagan Otherworld deck is their big kind of one that most people have, that you'll kind of see Uusi in line of. The one thing that I do love about this deck is the calligraphy. This is all hand calligraphed, and the font and style of the calligraphy is just beautiful. It really does kind of add an extra edge. Not probably my favourite style for reading because it's just so far away from like traditional Marseille, but at the same time it's stunning. They do these extra cards. So this is their Seeker card, which is based on that. Quite a lot of people have seen this kind of image of popping through the veil. It's a very Neoplatonic kind of style image. So, and they've also got some extra cards around the moons and moon phases. I'm not sure whether this deck includes them, but Yeah, they've added the moon phase cards. This would be quite useful. I can imagine doing it as a timing. So if you shuffled these into a deck and you wanted to get a month reading, you could just look through the deck for these cards and find which cards they were next to, and either read the one behind it and the one in front of it, and therefore do a kind of a 2-card spread for each of those moon phases, or just do the one that it's facing, and then you've basically got a timing through the tarot. This will happen around full moon, this will happen around new moon. So quite like the idea. It's kind of out there. It's quite a lot of people, when they've added cards to the tarot, like the new Aeon card in Thoth, I've never really been particularly keen, but this has quite a good useful route that I can instantly see. So this is their Pagan Otherworlds deck. They also have another tarot deck, other than the one that I've got in front of me, called the Bruti Tarot. Let me just find it. Oh, Gold Edge deck's way out of my... Oh, you get a sneak peek preview of... I can't quite see it, but there's a Bruti deck or something like this that actually the style and the artwork very much matches the Lenormand deck that I did there you go, the Brute. That's the playing card version. Let's see whether I can just find the tarot. There it is. So this kind of matches the Chelsea Lenormand deck in kind of style. You can see that. So people that have seen that, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of a similarity here between the images. It's not an exact match. They're different companies. They weren't set to match, but there is kind of this association. So I think in the review on the Chelsea Lenormand, I make mention of how fantastic it would have been if there was a tarot deck in that style. This is the closest that I can kind of find. But anyway, so on to today. So we are looking at the Eros, the tarot, the Garden of Love tarot. So I'm going to get that a couple of times wrong, but it is this. So this deck is based on... they say it's based on kind of a cheeky kind of tilt towards burlesque and the history of burlesque. I kind of see it as very Brighton beachside kind of humour, that kind of cheeky Victorian nudity kind of thing that was very, very prevalent in British countries, British kind of beaches and seaside resorts. I feel it's cheeky rather than erotic. You'll kind of see what I mean as I go through the deck. But it's now on the second edition of 1000. So at the time of this publishing, check whether it's still in stock. I will put a link below for you. They do reissue them, but the reissues are quite limited. I do warn my Patreon supporters of these. So if you would like to kind of have a bit of a reminder, either go through the website or join my Patreon group where I kind of point these things out for people that are collecting. So you can kind of see this very cheeky. It's not like, barefaced nudity, but it's cheeky. I kind of see this as almost like... I don't know whether this is the same in other countries. I'm not brilliantly aware of it, but in the UK at like seaside resorts, like especially Brighton, the south coast, they kind of have these big boards, sometimes of kind of cheeky scenes with the faces cut out, and then you can kind of go around and put your face in it, and then someone can take a photo from the front. It was kind of like a seaside resort amusement thing back from, I don't know, when they didn't have Netflix or TV, but basically you'd kind of become the kind of part of the cheeky scene. So whether that was a husband being spanked by his wife or something like this, that kind of cheeky nature, that's kind of funny and kind of carry on. So that's how I see these images. It's not so much as kind of burlesque, even though it is themed. It to me is like kind of seaside cheekiness. Okay, that said, let us take a look at this tarot deck, because it's still here. So let me drop you down to the table. That's how the boxes come in. Yeah. So let me open it up. This didn't take too long to arrive. I did pay for a priority postage. I think I ordered it a few weeks ago. It is a day later than they said it would be. Right, so nicely packaged. Ooh, lovely. So here we have a little hand signed thank you card and an advertisement just kind of saying that their Republic playing cards are coming soon. I have seen clips of this on social media. They look quite nice. So that's like a little postcard. I quite like this image though. I might kind of cut it out and reuse it. I'm going to just tilt my camera a little bit forward. You might see the edge of my computer, but then I can kind of hold things a little bit more naturally. That is my invoice. Sorry, my camera went a little bit there. Back online. So opening it up, we have it in a little linen pouch. That's lovely. It's kind of got a ace of swords on the front of it, so that's looking quite nice. Very cheeky. Yeah, I'm glad that I gave you a warning. That's quite a cheeky little image, but lovely. Once again, still cheek on the cheeky side rather than outright. And here's the tarot deck. So it is wrapped in a plastic, but looking good. This reminds me of high-end, like the Waddingtons playing cards. Like if someone is a card player here, they'll kind of know what I'm talking about. But the kind of the high-end cards rather than a tarot deck per se. Right, let's unwrap this. Not a huge fan of cellophane, but I understand its purpose. Oh, throw that in the bin. Okay, so we have Tarot, Eros, The Garden of Love by Uusi. And we've once again got a very cheeky picture of a sword hilt being titillated by a serpent. Let's move on. So we've got a seal here. Let me just, that might be sharp enough. Ooh. This is actually pretty tough. There you go, let's go. And we're open. I've said on previous shows that I don't tend to like the envelope slip sleeves on cards. This one's textured. So this is kind of like a textured print, and then this, I think, yeah, it's actually just a print on it. It's embossed into the box. It's quite nice as slip cases go. They've even thought of a little extra design here that, well, I can't quite read it. Let the future enter you. Okay. Interesting phrase. So yeah, it's a nice slipcase, but once again, they're going to get battered and bruised. And I imagine that's one of the big good things about why they've kind of given the bag, is that we can keep it relatively nice in the tarot pouch rather than the slipcase. Right, so leaving a card behind that. So first thing I note, there is no little book. There is no little white book. The reason to that is I think the reason to that anyway is that they do a book to accompany their tarot decks that is more money. So here's like the Tarot Pagan Otherworlds book, $25. This is the Supra Oracle book. So I think that they have one on the Eros, wherever it is. So that might be why that they have not supplied a little booklet, because that is online. This is supposed to be a Marseille deck, Marseille-based tarot deck, I should say. So some of the images should be more along the lines of Marseille than otherwise. The edging's interesting. It's perfectly cut. Like there is no cards that are standing out. It's really smooth. If you were really keen on modding your decks and edging them, this would be quite a nice edge to do. But yeah, you can kind of see these bands. I imagine that that's from the cutting process rather than any specific. The cards feel nice. Let's start with the first card. So the card stock is quite flexible, not too thick. It's probably most similar to the Tarot de Micella that I've just recently reviewed. It is thinner than the Rider-Waite, but it feels more quality. So I think this is a crushed card and it's a linen finish, so you can kind of see, yeah, there's the texture on the surface, you can see, yeah, and that's the kind of thinness, so pretty thin. Let me just compare it to, for size purposes, so this is it against a Rider-Waite card. You can see that it is taller and it is slightly wider. It still feels manageable, but it is definitely on the big end spectrum. So that's how it compares to that. To the Thoth, just to kind of give you a kind of idea, it is still smaller than the Thoth. It's smaller by width and by height. Okay. So this is. Oh, should have a look at the backs. The backs match the box. It is a repeating circular pattern of some sort. It looks a little bit cheeky. I'm not going to say what it looks like because this is a public video, but you can kind of insinuate. I mean, look, let me just hold it up. What a lovely repeating pattern. That's all I should really say on that. There you go. So this is their Seeker card. You saw the Seek card with the head poking through the universe. This is their version for this deck. Eros, the Garden of Love by Uusi. This is just like an art card. You could use this as something. I probably would not. I don't really have a use for a Seeker card, but it's a Seeker card. Here is the Moon cards. So they do have Moon cards in this deck. They have a total of 5 Moon cards, 5 phases. They have, full moon, new moon, and then 3 extra stages. And whether that is waning or whether that is waxing, that's the waning, that's the waxing, isn't it? It's up to you, and they're reversible. You can kind of see, so the face looks fine that side, and it also looks fine that side. Yeah, so they've done it so that it is reversible. Oh yeah, I was going to say that probably isn't, but yes, it is. So these are all reversible, so that you can kind of have waxing and waning. That's pretty clever. They're nice. I like this blue that they've got going on here. Okay, so we've now got to the proper deck. So I'm going to, as I usually do, I'm going to go through the major arcana, and then I will quickly flick through the minor arcana to kind of show you the style of them. But the major arcana for me holds the juice. So here's the Fool. You can kind of see it does align itself pretty. I'm just going to be giggling all the way through this video, I know it. It does align itself quite well to the Marseille deck. It does look more Marseille than Rider-Waite Smith. I say that to an extent. I mean, there is a leaping over the edge of the cliff, which isn't on the Marseille. It's more on the Rider-Waite Smith, and there isn't a walking stick like there is on the Marseille. But anyway, so yeah, nice and cheeky. We can kind of see some lovely little cheeky elements. The fact that he's not wearing any trousers, maybe tights, but not wearing any trousers. His little satchel there is suspiciously shaped, and once again, lovely font type on the cards. The edges, if you can kind of see, they are not completely straight. I sometimes talk about this. I do quite like this unrefined edge. So this probably was line drawn and then digitally altered. And you can kind of tell that by the quality of the line work. It's nice. I like that. It makes it feel like it's not like a mass-produced print. Right. Oh dear, it just gets more less subtle as we go through the deck. So here's the magician doing an Anne Summers party by the looks of things, with a cigarette in his hand. Yeah, I like it. It does align itself to the the Marseille deck because of the table. There's no plants here, but yeah, you can kind of see that lineage. His tools do appear to be some adult entertainment devices that he is demonstrating here. And I am not going to. Well, should I comment on his bodice? Probably not. Very nice, like it. The papes, lovely. So we still have the document. We have this scroll. It is kind of fully revealed, but not fully revealed. It's got Eros 69 on it. And she's kind of cheekily looking away, but looking at it, but looking away, but looking at it. This is quite popess, I suppose, or high priestess. They've chosen the French naming, the anglicised French Marseille naming rather than the Rider-Waite convention. And she does kind of is acting in that situation as if we would expect a standard popess from another tarot deck to act. You know, this ooh, I shouldn't look, but I should look. It's tacit. It's things that are not spoken about, taboo subjects. So there's a rough meaning there that is kind of kind of matches the standard and traditional decks. I'm just gonna go look at the curtains and then just leave it. I think it's best for public consumption. So the Empress. Yeah, it's getting bolder as we go through. Here we have the Empress. It is a little bit aligned to the Marseille, but she's not really holding the thing. in my explanation videos, I kind of explain that the shield being held and nurtured is a sign of her nurturing and kind of closeness and fondness to nature. Here it's kind of just put under her arm, so it kind of makes her a little bit different than the Empress that we know and love, but it's still good. The Emperor, caught without his pants on, sniffing a flower, as you do. Everyone's got to have a hobby. Pope's good. Like the Pope. Yeah, got the triregnum. We've got these little kind of people, the worshippers either side, kind of touching his cloaks and bits. And he's he's almost like hippie Pope, like peace sign. Yeah, man, just go for it. So nice, but more restrained than some of the other cards. And as it's the Pope card in the tarot, it probably matches that kind of feeling of needing to be a little bit more restrained. It's not just all about shock value. It seems to also be about what the cards stand for. The Lovers. Here we are, caught in a serpent's embrace. It actually looks like it should be side on as an image, so they've decided to kind of do a panorama, like a landscape scene, but it does work that way as well. Really nice, fun, simple. The Chariot, yeah. It's actually getting a little bit less overt, but we do have a little bit of bondage going on here underneath his cape, and we've got the trouser list and hidden by a serpent, and he's riding 2 serpents, which are obviously symbolic of male virility, and they're of 2 different colors, and they you know, this would work as a fortune telling card for the chariot, relatively all right, with not too much differences. So yes, the strength card, this was the one that was on the website that you saw. So this is what we kind of expected. So lovely little lion here being wrestled by kind of a burlesque star here. Great shoes, brilliant shoes, and doing it in style, as you do. The hermit. So the hermit has found a staff. I'm going to just leave it there, and he's got his lamp. He's holding his lamp up. Normally it's the reversed way, I think, off the top of my head. The Rider-Waite Smith is definitely, but yes, it's looking nice. This over long grown hair makes him feel very hermity, like he's not been to a hairdresser for 20 years and he's just let his hair grow. Yeah, so I quite like it. It's nice, it's cheeky still. Wheel of Fortune. Well, it's a wheel of penis. So here we go. You can kind of see that each of the spokes is decorated on the end, and we've got the wheel of fortune that is turning. This, yeah, would be very nice. We're missing the handle, which I do quite like. I do quite like the handle illustrated on tarot cards, because it always gives you the kind of the visual cue of, well, who's turning that wheel, who's you know, controlling that whole process. And you know, if you were a French tarot card reader, you could draw one on the left to see who was turning that wheel, or you know, just pose it as a kind of a question as you're doing a reader. So I do quite like seeing a handle on them, but it's not there, so get over it. But yeah, still looking quite fun, still looking quite quirky. I do really love this shade of blue that they've got going. Justice. So we've got this kind of richly embroidered fabric, as if it's like part of the legal proceedings, like you know, part of the furnishings of a courtroom or something. We've obviously got the judge here. So traditionally it would be a female judge, so let's just assume that it's female. Oh yeah, well yeah, because the scales are now her bra. So yeah, so probably. And then we've got this little cheeky chappy mouse that's kind of staring and gawping. That's really cool. I love that. So yeah, very different from a traditional tarot card for the justice. We do have a symbol of justice hinted here in the kind of the scales. But other than that, we don't have like an upright pointed sword or bits and bobs. So here we go, the Hanged Man. We have an interestingly decorated garment going around. He is definitely into his Japanese rope bondage, and he seems very, very happy to be there. So he's a consenting party. Very important. We have the Marseille up the sides. Yeah, these 2 branches and then across. So traditionally these would have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a 5th just behind here. I can kind of see a branching of 6. So it's still got the 12 knobs that some people see as the 12 disciples of Jesus. Death. Well, Death like we have never seen him before. Death with Death's legs up. I'm not going to give him a gender. Death with Death's legs up. We're kind of touching on the scythe here, and then the hand coming up to caress his or her pelvis bone, and a rose in Death's mouth there. Very, very different from what we normally depict him as, and there's the little crowned head kind of staring up a little bit. Yeah, it's quite fun. It's nice, isn't it? So one of the things that is kind of becoming very apparent with this tarot deck is that there's a lot of it's high quality. You know, there's no issues with the printing. The colours are really quite nice and vivid. The texture of the cards is fantastic. Some of the cards differ from the traditional more than others. So Temperance is pouring a glass of wine. We've not got her standing up and pouring one jug from the other. We've got, her pouring a glass of wine, which is, fantastic. I like it. Butterfly here. Sun seems to be setting. She's sitting on what looks to be like a pier. And this kind of hints at a little bit of a wing, but it could be a floating bit of scarf or so. Yeah, nice. I've actually got a friend that this reminds me of. Interestingly, so we've got the devil. We have a very austere devil. We've definitely taken the concept of lots of eyes from the Marseille tarots, and we've kind of translated them onto the wings. We have a hand on each of the people. We've got a woman showing that she's got some sort of chastity belt on. I love her little headdress. Her facial expression is fantastic. And then we've got this cheeky man with his little butt cheeks exposed. It looks like he's got his hand against a wall, but it can't be because that would be too far with the devil in between two. And it looks like they've been kind of all caught in an act. Other than the women, they're all kind of looking at us kind of like shocked, like we've been caught. The tower. Well, this is traditionally in the Marseille called the House of God rather than the tower. So they've gone for the Rider-Waite interpretation of the name. The House of God would make it slightly more interesting, especially with that depiction. But here we have, instead of two people falling out of the tower near the bottom, one falling out the door, one falling down. We've got the roof of the tower being blown off and struck by, blown off, I suppose. And then we've caught these two people in an act of intimacy, whilst his butt is being struck by lightning there, which is quite fun and quirky. Cool. The star. So we have a bird. We have the star pouring liquid into the river as usual. This is quite aligned to the traditional cards. This feels like just a version of the star. It doesn't feel like a different card. The moon. Here, two dogs are holding hand in hand with the crayfish to all worship the moon. I quite like it. It's quite fun. I'm just going to do it again. The tower shapes. They're interesting. And then leave it there. So they're quite fun. The sun. Here we go. The sun is a little child pulling on the sun. This is quite nice. I quite like the innocence of it, because it really does depict, and this would have been a challenging card to do in this style because obviously it centers around children, so it's been done pretty tastefully and clever. It's been done with a bit of style, hasn't it? This kind of cheeky kind of pulling on the sun a bit, and the leggings of the horse, so tastefully done, and the horse makes it look a bit like a unicorn. Judgment, we have seen this card before. We have seen that on the website. So here we go again. This looks like the Hermit. We met him before. He's got like a little bumblebee on his shoulder. It does look like a tattoo rather than it's just landed there. I know it's landed there because there's another one here. We've got him kind of reaching out and touching these presumably ladies' bottom. And here is Cupid in the sky. This is very crisp, very clean, very nice to read. We've still got the traditional 3 people on the judgment card. We've still got the angel hearkening judgment. So it still feels relatively traditional, even though it's not. And then here's the world card. So the world traditionally is inside an oval reef, which this one is kind of. And it looks like she's part of this burlesque show, doesn't it? It looks like she's doing some sort of stage acrobatics. She's got a bull licking her feet there, and this angel in the corner helping her to stay hoisted so she can demonstrate some sort of fun feat of acrobatics whilst being semi-nude. So yeah, I quite like that. That's quite fun. So initial impressions of the major arcana. Some cards differ from the traditional kind of depictions. Other cards don't as much. It's a bit of a marriage between Marseille and Rider-Waite. It's more Marseille because of the less reliance on the symbols. But there is certain departures from the Marseille towards the Rider-Waite. The naming conventions sometimes are Marseille, but the majority of them are Rider-Waite. So the Pope and Popess are Marseille, but the Tower is definitely Rider-Waite Smith, and I think there was another one that was a bit more Rider-Waite Smith. So that's my initial impressions. So let's have a quick look at the minors for those that are keen on minors. They are non-pictorial pips in part because obviously artists and the designers have done them, so that they have done a lot more artwork on these than the traditional non-pictorial pips. However, they are stylized and they're not necessarily to depict their meaning. So that's my initial thoughts from those. Here's the court cards. So the page of coins. We've got this is it's a good depiction. The reason why I was pausing was that these legs almost look like they're facing backwards because of this pattern makes it feel like the calves are facing us. But they're not. They're obviously facing us, but in just 2 different directions. So it was kind of that visual illusion there that was kind of just playing with my mind, and I just kind of had to figure out what it was. So the coin has become a shield in this one. Coin here, cheekily passing wind on the knight of coins here. Yep, and we've got a little tiny snail on it. Queen of coins playing with her flower. I'm going to stop. And knight, a king of coins there with a tastefully, still subtle but not subtle skirt design there. You can kind of see it. But yeah, very nice. Love it. King of Wands. Oh, we're going reversed now. Okay. So King of Wands. Queen of Wands. Obviously, we know what the wands are going to basically be all the way through these. Yeah. Oh, that's strange. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they're so similar. That's what I was just kind of looking at. So we've just lost one here, but there's no numbering system on this. So you'd literally have to know it by look or count, because they I mean, when it's got lower numbers, it's relatively easy. But when they get the 9 and the 10, I mean, I suppose you can go 4, 8, 9. But that, yeah, I mean, I would have liked a Roman numeral on those, just because of the similarity between the design on all those. That's just me. And then we're going back up the deck. So cups, here we go. Cup. They've put the publication stuff on the 3 of cups, which is rare. It normally is on the 2 of coins. Here we go. Yep, so that's very traditional. And then the page of cups, the knight of cups, the queen of cups, and the king of cups. King of Swords, we're going reversed again. This is confusing me. Queen of Swords, Knight of Swords. Yeah, so swords are all about the hilt of the blade by the looks of things. Very nice. And then is that, yeah, so that's still 2. So okay, so they've done it on all of the 2s basically. And then the ace is there with the original publishing date. So nice. So that's the minors. So if you read pictorial pips that you like a scene in your in your minor arcana, then you're not going to find it there. It's very traditional with a kind of a cheeky take. So you're not going to have like a scene that depicts the meaning. You're just going to have an image that has the amount of the suit that is available on it. So that is that. Overall impressions, nice, good. At times I'm wondering whether this is something that I can actually put on YouTube without YouTube punishing me, because it was a little bit more overt in places than others. Some of the cards are very tastefully done. Other cards are a little bit more overt. They're still tasteful, but they're more overt in their symbolism and their imagery. Where could I imagine reading this? Well, if I did, I don't, but if I did readings at like an adult venue, I think that this would be very good, especially an evening venue. I know that there have been tarot card readers at places like Soho House. This would kind of work quite well there. And especially if I did readings in somewhere like Café de Paris. I know these are London places, so international viewers, not quite getting an idea of that. But like old-fashioned 1920s kind of adult evening venues. So that's where these would shine. Or like a hen party or a stag do, that kind of bit where it's okay to be a little bit cheeky and a little bit playful with the tarot deck. I think that would kind of work quite well. The cards feel nice. I'm keep stroking the edges because they've been cut so well. I've not talked about the cut, but they're from back to front if you're a Faro shuffler. So yes, they feel great in the hand. The quality of them is really good. The designs on the back have been lovely. They're subtle enough that they, the shock value is in the images rather than the back, which is lovely. And they are on the slight thin side. I think that's because they are kind of a crushed card stock rather than a non-crushed cardstock, just like left. But they do, they are on the thin side compared to a lot of other decks. The thickness, which I haven't done, just not including the extra cards, but the thickness is, let me just compare it to the Rider-Waite, but without the booklet. So that's the Rider-Waite. That's the Eros. So they're about the same size. They feel thinner, maybe because they're bigger, but they are just about the same size. They might be ever so slightly thicker. So they're not quite as thin as I'm making out. So high quality. The images are cheeky. They would be more applicable for adult venues or evening readings or times when a little bit of cheeky fun would be nice and acceptable. For everyday reading, like if you do readings in a bookshop or a cafe or some, probably not. Probably stay away from them as a kind of a personal collection item. So that was the Uusi Eros, the Garden of Love tarot. I hope that has made you giggle and grin as much as it has me, and I hope that it has made you laugh at me squirming and trying to figure out how to phrase certain things slightly acceptably on a YouTube channel. So as ever, thank you so much for your time. I will be doing a reading with this deck on my Patreon, as I always do. So if you are interested in seeing these cards in action and seeing how they read, you need to become a supporter of mine on Patreon. So my link is below. Please consider it. It does help, and you get a lot of extras like handouts and extra videos and extra content and stuff. So thank you very much for your time. Take care. Bye.